United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to tonight's Planning Board workshop. If there's an emergency, please exit to your left and use the stairs and not the elevator. The cases will be all called up by Michelle, and it is a workshop. It's a little bit less formal than when we have a normal meeting, but let's get to it. Michelle, please call the first case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item on the agenda is case number PB 2023-11-1, which is a sketch plan conference. Request by Bergman, acting as agent for Regional Transit Service for sketch plan conference for the relocation of a new connection hub on premises 2111 Hudson Avenue in a C business district.
When you come up, please give your name and address of everybody who's going to speak. Thank you. Sure.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Dan DeLoss. I'm General Counsel for Regional Transit Service. Accompanying me tonight, Andy Hart from Bergman, Dave Velasquez, our RTS in-house engineer, Eric Shaw, also from Bergman, and Rich Bell from the law firm of Adams and LeClaire. I'm just going to give a brief intro tonight and then turn it over to the engineers. I'm sure you all realize that RTS has been riding routes and passengers to the Irondequoit Plaza area for years. Stopped previously on Titus Avenue, Hudson, and then several years ago, we did establish a connection hub in the plaza at the site currently that you're going to be hearing about later from Citizens Bank, where the new Citizens Bank is going to go. We have an agreement with Irondequoit Plaza to be there, obviously, but since they are developing the site, they've asked us to vacate, and we have been entering into negotiations to purchase property to the south. I'm a resident, born and raised in Irondequoit, so I'll say where Chase Picken used to be years ago. And they have the parking lot that they really aren't using very well. It was on the market, so we looked into that. And our plan is to move our hub down to that location after acquiring the parking lot. In order to do that, we'll have to obtain an easement from Irondequoit Plaza because we want to continue to use that same signalized entrance. Our buses really need a traffic light to make the left-hand turn. So the plan is to come in the same entrance we come in now, then turn south, heading in front of Wegmans, if you will, on the access road, and then enter the new property where the hub will be. We also plan to acquire a second easement on that 2111 Hudson in case our buses want to continue south and exit directly onto Hudson, taking a right-hand turn and heading south on Hudson. They won't be making a left out of that exit because there is no signal there. So that's, in essence, in a thumbnail sketch of the plan, and if it's okay, I'll turn it over to the experts in the engineering.
No, they're separate. Good evening, my name's Andy Hart with Bergman. And just to go over a little bit more detail, we have made a couple changes since the material we sent you. So Dave's gonna hand it out to everybody. Basically what we're looking at is the change that was made from what we submitted was it's gonna be a smaller building, mechanical building. Before we had mentioned potentially putting in restrooms for the bus drivers, but we have now since removed that need. So the building that we're going to be proposing is really just for the snow melt system, the boiler. We'll call it a maintenance building per se. So as Dan mentioned, we're relocating from 2255 Hudson down to 2111 Hudson. We do want to create a new connection hub that's a little bit more in-depth than the previous one, a little more community driven perhaps. So what we're going to do is pick up the two existing bus shelters and relocate them to the new location. We'll be building a small 85 square foot building to house the snow melt system. All the sidewalk along the bus loading area will be a snow melt, so we won't have to worry about shoveling. We will be creating 3 pull-offs, as we showed in the site plan, for buses to pull off into from the Plaza Main Drive and pick up and drop off passengers. We also want to construct 2 small shade structures on either side of the small maintenance building to add a little bit more protection and cover for families with with kids with strollers, families with strollers, and a little more area to get out of the weather than the shelter itself can provide. So the bus shelter. So we're providing 2, as you can see in the sketch, 2 pre-manufactured shade pavilion structures, 2. They're roughly 24 feet long, 1 on each side. We will be still providing electric vehicle charging stations. We'll take the 2 from the north site and bring them and relocate them to this new site. So there'll be 2 charging stations for 4 vehicles. Each station has 2 vehicles. We'll also have, oh, yep, okay, so on the south edge of the site, as you can see on our site plan, we're proposing kind of a noise wall on the south end, and that's what that rendering indicates. So it'll be on the south side of the site. On our site plan, we indicated location of the fence, wall, noise wall. It'll be piers, brick piers with a concrete panel in the middle, precast panel in the middle.
So when you say the south side, is that near that driving lane?
Yeah, if you look at
I'm gonna get hollered at. When you say the south side, do you mean that driving lane?
Yeah, from the south driving lane that comes off of Hudson, as you head into the site,
Yep,
we have some dark lines that indicate a sound wall on the site plan. I don't know if you can see that.
It'd be
I can-
between the apartments and towards the apartments to the south.
but it doesn't, you don't intend on blocking that driving lane?
No,
It'll be with where the parking is now.
correct.
All right.
Yeah, they'll just help it to be a little bit of a buffer to the residents to the south in the apartment complex from the buses idling
From all the noise of the charging station?
and all the noise of the train station.
The electric bus.
You're not gonna charge buses there, right? No, I didn't think so. Okay.
No, just vehicles.
That requires a lot more infrastructure than,
Yes. So we will be taking over the parking area as we showed on the site plan. So there'll be a reduction in parking. I think we're losing 98 spaces, but we'll be able to provide still for the life storage. They'll still have 114 available to them. So they feel that's plenty for their operation. We'll be providing at the moment 4 for what we need for the charging stations, but we may add a couple more if needed. And we have plenty of room to do that. The building itself, we're still trying to figure out exactly what we're going to construct it out of, but what we've shown on the sketch that you have in front of you is a metal panel. But we've also been looking at potentially building it out of a split-face block CMU with a roof on it. The roof structure, the white that kind of separates the top, we were thinking that would be a translucent panel and light from the inside could radiate out to try to create a little bit of an interest to the building. So it doesn't look like a shed placed on the site and has some meaning to it. Also, what we want to try to provide too are some colors. So we kind of showed an orange color ring around it, as well as providing some opportunities for families that are waiting for their bus. We're going to have maybe a hopscotch area in the pavement embedded in so the kids could play while they're waiting for the bus. Cool. Wanted to create more of a community atmosphere for the station, the connection hub, than the one that's there now.
so you're gonna just take the existing enclosed,
Correct. There's two bus shelters already there, so we're just going to relocate those 2.
It looks in this drawing that they're just back to back. Is that your intention?
Yeah, they're they're on either end of the site, so, yes. Yep.
That just shows
That's
one over.
So the other one will be on the north.
on the right.
Looking at that picture would be to the right.
Yeah, it's zoomed out a little bit. It's
Yeah.
not zoomed out quite enough to see the second one, I'm sorry.
That one won't be here.
They're equidistant on either side of the mechanical shed.
Yeah,
Is
if you
the
refer to the
existing
site
lighting,
plan- Oh, go ahead.
oh, we're going to be utilizing the existing lighting?
Yeah, well, we're gonna change the heads out, but yes, we're gonna utilize the existing poles.
Are you going to be removing any of the poles that are in the lot?
No, we're gonna reuse the same pole base and hopefully the pole too. Just change the
Just
fixtures
misses them.
to be LED.
Those three are
So I just got some simple questions. So
Absolutely.
you're gonna take over the entire front of the life storage as it is today?
Almost the entire front. We'll still have parking along their front facade that we've shown. So we'll have, there's an existing row of 13 spaces along the face of the building that will remain. The drive aisle will remain as is. And we'll be adding 38 new spaces up against our 1 acre parcel. There'll be a there'll be a decorative fence, aluminum fence, separating the bus area from that drive aisle, from the parking. So there'll be a physical barrier too to help keep people from crossing between the two. And we do need to open up the driveway to the north. There's the ring road that heads east and west, north of the life. We're gonna actually, that used to be a driveway when it was Chase Pickin. We're gonna bring it back now, make it back into a driveway. So then we'll have access, Life Storage will have access on both north and south for their parking.
And then you indicate landscaping going on in front.
We show some trees and, yep,
So have you, I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. Have you talked to them? Are they happy with you blocking their facade?
I don't know if we're necessarily blocking it too much, but we're showing some new trees.
Yeah, they asked us to do these renderings that you see in front of us, and we did them from a couple.
I enjoy it, believe me.
They have, during our conversations with them, expressed a concern about losing some visibility, if you will, from the street. And we told them we're glad to work with them to do anything we can to mitigate that. So, again, we'll do whatever.
Showed the renderings.
This helps a lot.
They were pleased with what they look like.
No, I think that this is fine.
So my question has more to do with the humanity of the site. So you have elderly facility to your west, and you show sheds. Is there any way that you can have an enclosed structure where heating is provided, since most of the people that will be taking the bus will be probably from the apartment complex and the elderly, and standing in front of a person that used to stand in a snow lot waiting for the bus is not fun. So would it be possible to enclose the facilities, especially during winter, and provide heating, maybe using solar panel to reduce the cost of electricity? The second one, I'm concerned about, also from my experience of driving long distance as a hotshot driver in my younger days, why remove the restrooms for the drivers? Since that's a pretty long route from hub to hub, wouldn't it make more humanitarian sense to keep the restrooms for the drivers?
Well, currently at our hub, we don't have restrooms, and the reality is that the local businesses in the plaza have been very cooperative with us, allowing our operators to take personal breaks. Dunkin' Donuts, frankly, is one of the sites that we use.
But now you're on the other side of the parking lot.
Right,
for
and we
Dunkin' Donuts.
have had conversations with Wegmans about basically allowing the same thing in those
Again, if
hubs.
you're on a schedule, that's at least a 5-minute walk to and from, right?
From
Three
from-
minutes.
Yeah, that's true. Haven't really had a lot of complaints from our operators about, if any, about the current location, but that's certainly something we can consider. It does add a lot of the cost to the, that's one of the things I've talked with these gentlemen about is the cost of not just constructing, but maintaining the facilities as well. Also, a concern expressed by the owners of the storage facility about wondering whether such facilities would be open to the public in addition to operators.
In terms of the heat, there is heating provided in the bus shelters today, and they will be in the future as well.
So just out of curiosity, with all this extra space, are you going to be doing more like of those long trips out of here to the different, you catch it here to go to the casinos or New York or anything like that?
The answer to that is no. Since we are public transportation, we really only can do service like that, charter service, under very limited circumstances, and pretty much don't do that in Monroe County, except rarely. Out in our regional counties, we do a lot more of that.
And you can't lease this out to other companies that are doing that?
No intention to do that at all.
Okay.
The service profile is gonna stay the same as it is up there today. It's what we'll be doing when this is constructed. Assuming we don't make schedule changes or things like that, which we always are looking at.
Yeah, I think the three lines that use the hub now are the Clinton, the St. Paul, and the Hudson, and that won't change.
Can you just talk me through how the bus is going to get into this and how it's going to get out of it?
I think that'd be great for Eric Shaw. Why don't you come on up and tell us?
With the three routes, there's two that come from Titus Avenue. They'll turn south onto Hudson and enter in that signalized intersection, circulate, and then they'll come west, then head south and enter on the north end of this new parcel, get into the bus, into their pockets. When they leave,
The north end how?
they'll turn right. So when they come down in front of the M&T Bank, they'll continue, come through that intersection. They'll take a right-hand turn into the north end to that. There's an opening,
Okay.
right? That's your north opening. So
Yeah, I'm
that's the
just
enter-
asking you.
Yep.
I can see it here, but I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing.
Yes, that's the entry part for all the buses to come into that end of it. Then they'll park into their individual slots, depending on which one's open. When they go to leave, the two routes that then go back to Titus and head west, they'll circulate through the south opening. They'll exit through there, turn left, and go in front of where Summit Bank is, and go back up to that signalized intersection.
Right.
The one bus that does head south, I think it's bus route 4, when they leave, they have the option to snake through and get to the south entrance into the plaza, and then make a right-hand turn from there. But no, like they said earlier, no left-hand turns will be going out of that intersection.
And how are these going to be marked for the public not to go into them?
Oh, go ahead.
No, we have a similar installation at Eastman Avenue, and we just put signage up there, buses only, and I'm not aware of any issues we've had with cars going into those areas.
Okay.
Because the buses will be coming every 15 minutes, so it's a pretty routine operation going on through there, so there's not a
Even
lot
more reason not to have a car go in there. Yeah.
They kind of see that happening, so they really don't want to mess around with our 40 and 60-foot buses.
And then my next question is, how do passengers or pedestrians get from the plaza? I assume they're going to the plaza, they're not just riding the bus.
Right. There is a sidewalk on the north side that will take people from Hudson Avenue all the way through, get to Wegmans. We're making a pedestrian connection at the north end of our proposed lot that'll tie into that existing sidewalk.
Got it.
When you come back, can you bring a diagram that shows how the buses are going to circulate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
As well as pedestrian movement.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
In terms of the landscaping, if you haven't already, salt-tolerant species, just because how close you are going to be to the pavement. And then, I apologize if I missed it, but at one point you mentioned a chain link fence. Is that the fence that's on the west side, what's labeled as ornamental.
Yeah, I misspoke. It's not a chain link fence.
Okay, just-
It's a decorative aluminum fence.
Got it,
Yes.
okay.
I apologize.
Any other questions? So what else are you looking, yeah,
I just want to point out one thing to the board and staff, obviously. We're definitely trying to negotiate a voluntary transfer of this property, rather than go the route of eminent domain. But we do have a public hearing scheduled right in your library for November 29th. Yes, thanks. And everybody obviously is welcome to attend that. It's frankly going to be just what we went through, and the owner is going to be invited as well. So we're proceeding in parallel path, but the hope is obviously we can negotiate arm's length transaction. We have an appraisal, and we are bound to pay no lower than that, and maybe a little bit higher, but not a lot, and they're aware of that. Things are actually going pretty well. They gave us permission to appear here toward, so we're hopeful that it's going to be resolved.
When you do have that public hearing or whatever, can you also talk about maybe expanding services toward the end of the routes during the summer? Transportation is great, but what I'm hearing is that during the wintertime, it stops short, so you have people walking a mile or whatever to get to bus service from the end of the routes. So you take care of, for example, you take care of Seabreeze, great, but when that summer's over, all those homes and people have to walk to get to bus service.
Are you, just so I'm clear, you're talking about like further north in Arundecoit?
All the ends, yeah, further north in Arundel.
Sure. We do have our on-demand service. I want to make that clear. This hub is primarily going to be used by our 40-foot fixed route buses. But our smaller on-demand vehicles that serve the entire town will be going there as well. And the hope is that folks that live up north will take the smaller vehicle, and if they need to get downtown, they'll take it to this hub, get out of the small vehicle and get on the 40-foot bus. But that's a fair question, and yes, sure, we'll address that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
can I just ask one more question? So I'm not familiar with the bike share program. Is that those scooters and things you can rent that you see all over the place?
Yeah, well, yes, the bike share program has had several different iterations, I guess. The latest one is, I think, with just electric and whatever other motorized scooters they have. I don't know that there's still a bike share, the old-fashioned bikes anymore.
The only reason I ask is I don't fully understand the whole program, haven't looked into it, but at least in my travels, I see them abandoned all over the place. Is that going to introduce that to Arundecoit where it isn't now?
I think the current scooter program, first of all, we don't have anything to do with it. But I do think that it allows people to simply leave the scooter where they are, and then the name of the company, who escaped me now, that's a GPS signal, they come and they pick them up. And there's a charge for that if you leave that scooter. But I also believe that that is limited to the city of Rochester boundaries now. I don't think any other municipality has entered into an agreement with the scooter company.
Oh, okay, so this one's different then, is what?
Well,
Provisions for it should
Yeah.
it become available or be
Yeah.
needed in the community. We
More like a
provide
bike rack for
provisions.
now.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bike rack. Usually they put those on the buses now, right? So,
they can put bikes on the front of the buses, yes.
We show a bike rack for customers who have their own bikes and can leave it locked at the facility. And we also show the bike share program, bike racks too. So there's.
okay, I was just curious. I just see them all
Yeah.
over.
I think that would require town action to establish it.
And then the EV parking spaces are run by you?
Charging?
Yeah.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Charging
The
station.
EV charging.
No, electronic vehicle parking spaces?
Yeah, they're for EV charging, yes.
Right, but those are run by you and maintained by you?
Yes,
Okay.
currently.
How many AV slots are you having, by the way?
4.
Are you expanding or
Four spaces for 4 cars.
Thanks, I was too lazy to go open my packet and look, so.
That's okay. No problem.
And I'm sorry, but one other thing, if I may. Timing is going to be very important
Yeah, that's
to
what I
us.
was gonna ask.
Obviously, you have on your agenda final approval. We hope that we're not going to be out on the street, so to speak, in any circumstance. But it's possible, if the negotiations with the owner of 2111 continue to go well, that we may have to go there on a temporary basis. So I can certainly be in contact with Michelle if that's where we may be going. Temporary basis while we wait for the weather to be able to construct, and that, because we obviously still need to move our people to their jobs and their shopping and everywhere else they need to go.
So that's good.
just
You
to
got a
letting,
plan B then, is what you're saying.
well, yeah, but it's really just a timing issue. We hope the timing with our soon-to-be neighbor Citizens Bank lines up with our plan, so that we don't have to take that route. But we'll keep you apprised of that as well.
I think it looks encouraging. Looking
Yeah.
forward to when you come back. You'll
I
come back to
appreciate
another
this.
workshop, I take it, after you get all your.
Preliminary.
Does the board typically issue comments after sketch plan? So,
Michelle, you want to go through them now, Michelle, what you captured? That'll help you.
you got a large agenda and the Bills are playing tonight.
Yeah.
We'll be glad to just await those.
I can email them
I
tomorrow,
like
too.
that. Does look
Sounds great.
Looks good.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is case number PB 2023-06-2, request by DH Lewis Engineering, PLLC, acting as agent for 1944 Titus Avenue, LLC, for subdivision approval and steep slope environmental protection overlay district permit to subdivide a 3.763 acre parcel into 3 lots on premises 1944 Titus Avenue in an R1 residential district.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm back before you in regards, I guess the biggest issue is the site distance issue with the 2 lots on Titus Avenue at this point. We did some vegetative removals because one of the site distances was short. And then we sent the surveyors back out. We were still on the east lot, which is lot 3, we were still 30 feet short. So what we did was we took the driveway and pretty much mirrored the site plan, which didn't do a whole lot as far as grading, and it moved laterals around and stuff like that. I've got the plans over at Monroe County DOT for them to do their final approval on the site distance. Been in contact with Wes, and then I think you've seen the revised plan. They sent sketches over, and Michelle said she was gonna send them around. So I mean, that's where we're at right now, and I'm hoping I'll have, by our planning board meeting, the 24th, or is it the 24th? The deadline,
30th.
the 27th, the deadline for the comments from the DOT was the 24th, they wanted them. As I remember Wes's comments there in our correspondence, so that would give him enough time to review, and you guys would have the knowledge of what was going on there, but I think other than that, we're pretty close on some technical notes and stuff like that in the plan, so.
Could you just run through what we left off with at the last meeting, Michelle? What were the action items? Thank you.
Sorry. Absolutely. Let me,
And did you give your name and address?
Oh,
after?
Don Lewis with DH Lewis
Thank
Engineering.
you, Don. Okay.
so that was at the October meeting,
No.
correct me if I'm wrong.
It was at the actual meeting.
No.
No?
October,
Workshop?
we postponed.
Workshop, that's correct.
September, I think, was the last time we saw this case.
So it was the workshop.
Was it the
Bear with
October
me.
workshop?
Because, yeah, they asked for a postponement in September.
Because of the site distance was the last
Right.
real major issue that Wes wanted to get cleared up, and especially with the input from the DOT, so, county DOT, so.
Okay, it was the workshop from the 16th. Discussed the ditch line, including ditch A. Talked about Labella comments that remain unanswered. Did we,
Yeah, there was in fact, I revised plans, sent them back, and I think there were a few small like some scale comments, stuff like that were on the plans. I think we're down to 4 or 5 comments. I added some notes that he wanted, Wes wanted in regards to
Covered.
The last one we
disturbance
have is
down in the
October
woods.
30th. Is that what you're addressing?
Yeah.
Let's see here. I had one from 10:30, but then he had done a supplemental comment letter from there that had 5 additional comments.
Any chance we can get that?
Yeah.
Sure. Kate Powers, LaBelle Associates. I'm not Wes, so I can't directly speak to this, but I know that there are no major issues with this. As Don had mentioned, the site distance was the major issue. It seems like that we're working towards resolving that. And also, once we kind of get the okay from Monroe County, if they're okay with it, then I think we're okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we can move towards an approval at the next meeting. Just want to make sure that everybody on the board is comfortable with the 3 lots. I know we talked about that first lot, but the applicant did got a delineation. We're going to have that indicated on the plans. So I think we're almost there.
Yeah.
But yes, I believe the site distance was really the only major issue, and then I think everything else relatively can be worked out.
And did we get any updated comments from the Conservation Board?
No, we didn't have any additional, right?
No.
Didn't send anything.
I'm sorry, are you from the Conservation Board? What's your name? Dan? So Dan, the last time they were here, though, they said they wanted to talk about it as a group, so you did meet as a group, and everything's good with you right now?
And, our concern was that the town engineer would sign off on it, right? Because as the board, we're not experts on wetlands. We walked it, right, Alan, you were up.
Yeah.
To us, sure, it looked like wetlands, but we're not experts in that. We just wanted it looked at by the professionals, and if they're signed off on it, that's what we were looking for.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else you want to share at this point?
I'm all good.
Any more questions?
Nope.
On the revised plan that you sent us, there was some snow storage proposed on the lot furthest north, the
Yes.
house furthest north. I'm
Yes.
going to just
That was
describe
at a
it.
request by the town highway superintendent.
Is that on that property? It doesn't look like it to me.
Let me look at my plans here, hold on.
So I'm not sure, if it's on the property, it's no problem. If not, I don't know how that happens.
No, the snow storage is on the town's right of way. Because currently.
There's snow storage.
Currently, they're plowing to the end of that driveway and blocking it off. Now there's an area
There's no
open.
driveway there, right?
But I mean, yeah, the end of the roadway. So then, as we stood out there, where
Yeah.
the catch basin goes across the street and dumps out by the roots of that one tree, that area, there's a large area that's still there.
So whose proposed snow area is this? Is this the town's or is this
It's the town's.
Okay.
We're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine. And as long as everybody's comfortable and everybody has assured me that there won't be any problem with the trout stream that's to the north of this because of this, and I'm satisfied with the expertise that we've heard on that. I do have one additional question. The proposed soil sites, is that going to interfere, especially the one in the north, with the trees? Because I don't remember seeing that before on the site plan.
As far as the trees that are coming down,
Right.
yeah, the ones that are coming down are depicted on the demolition, the existing conditions demolition plan. And they were the ones that when we walked out there, that we all agreed that there wasn't
Yeah, no,
value there. That's
yeah,
correct.
and then on the south one, it has that against Titus Avenue, the soil. How much soil are you guys going to be putting there?
I don't know if we're gonna be putting any soil on the two sites.
You have proposed sites listed on there. I'm just asking because I think that might turn into, there's a slight curve around there.
Are we talking about the largest lot? Are we
No,
talking
I'm
about
talking about the southern lots.
the southern lot? I think as far as basement excavation, that gets dispersed around the buildings into I think there's both walkout conditions in those.
Okay, but you see what I'm talking about. It does say proposed temporary soil.
That's that's a temporary location for topsoil, so that the topsoil doesn't get removed, it stays on site.
Right.
And that topsoil goes
Is that the
back
only
as
place to
restoration.
store it against the road?
I mean, we're trying to limit the amount of disturbance on the properties, otherwise they put it down below, and now we're pushing further into the trees and clearing it more out in the backyard.
And then we decided not to do anything with the two southern lots as we head north. So they could actually be further developed.
As in, like, placing an easement there?
Like putting in a pool,
Oh.
right? It's my property, and
Sure.
code
Yeah, they can
probably
come
allows
in,
for any of
They can come
that.
for a permit to install a pool.
Okay,
Wouldn't it require an EPOD permit?
okay.
Alan, are you
At
thinking?
one point, we talked about a conservation easement over there, maybe for the town.
Are you thinking of moving? Is that-
No, I'm just saying that
They're for sale.
if we don't do a conservation easement, it can, the trees can be taken down and you can put in a pool, you can put in whatever.
Did you talk about that at the Conservation Board?
Press and hold it, honey. And then it'll turn blue. Yep, it's on.
We did not talk about that in the board, but like Michelle said, if it's still an EPOD, to get a building permit in there, I believe that they would have to come back
They would have to come
for
back.
an
Okay.
EPOD permit, which would
You're good with
trigger.
Yeah, and
So the question is, should
north
we-
part on, well, go ahead.
So should we put in a conservation easement now versus we don't know what the future board will be? So if this board is concerned about a conservation easement, should we require that versus a board that later on that really doesn't care about environmental concerns and kind of approves anything willy-nilly?
Well, if it's an EPOD, it would come to the conservation board,
Correct.
which by its nature, it would be
Right
environmentally
right now, it would
sensitive.
come to the conservation board.
Yeah. I mean,
For code.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's within it's within the town code under the Conservation Board. Chapter 12, I believe it is, where it states that any, application in an EPOD district,
Okay, so that won't change in the future where someone says, well, that's not really an EPOD district.
no.
it's still gonna be an EPOD.
Okay,
There's still woods, there's still steep slope.
okay.
And on the
Correct.
lot one, the northern lot, that does have a conservation easement
Everything just north of the,
driveway, basically.
right, where the grading ends, we took that whole north end of it, we're just. gonna put
And that is a conservation easement.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Sorry, yeah.
I think they've been through it in front of us
No,
a
I
long
think-
time, looking
yeah.
forward that it's finally going to get wrapped
No, I
up.
do too. I just wanted to bring up that easement issue because at one point we had discussed it. I have no strong feeling one way or another on it. I know the other one's more important
Right.
than the
Okay.
two on Titus.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Any other questions for us?
I'm good.
Okay,
Ready to go.
Hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks.
great, thank you.
This will be fast.
Okay, next item on the agenda, we have case number PB 2023-09-02. Request by Bispano and Associates, Inc., acting as agent for Arundecoy Plaza Associates LP for final site plan approval for the relocation and construction of a new plus or minus 3,200 square foot Citizens Bank retail branch on premises 525 Titus Avenue in a C business district. The applicant nor agent is here tonight, but in your packets, I believe I gave you their final submission, the site plan review submittal checklist. They did a site capacity worksheet. There are comments from the HIP group in there. And 11 by 17 sized copies. I have the full set of sized copies over here if you need them. From the last, now they've already received preliminary.
Yeah, we just had I have 3 notes. They included directional traffic on C0003. We asked for that. To connect the sidewalk to Hudson, which is done as well. And to relocate the bike rack, and that's done as well. So all 3 of those were covered in these revisions.
Was there anything on lighting that was outstanding? Was there anything on lighting outstanding? I was trying to, from your notes, Michelle, can you tell? I don't think so, but
I didn't have anything written down for it.
As Michelle's looking, I believe that they were going to have building-mounted lighting, and that I don't believe they were going to add any pole light fixtures, but obviously there's a large parking lot there, and the existing lighting fixtures will remain, at least from my recollection.
pending that, I don't think there's anything else.
I'll just note that we've been in contact with the applicant. We'd like to see a utility plan. We've kind of been going back and forth with them. We aren't concerned that they won't be able to hook up. We just don't know how they're going to hook up. So, if this is ready to go at the next meeting, as long as it's contingent on us getting that utility plan, just to make sure, because, we might just defer to the Commissioner of Public Works. Like, if they believe that it was okay, then maybe we could do without it. But obviously, since Commissioner McGee has been out, we would definitely like to see those plans. So as long as that's contingent, if you are looking to approve at the next meeting.
So were you concerned like they're going to put a transformer and we want to know where that's going to be, or? Because that's
Well-
come up several times in other.
Sure. Well, and also just sewer water as well, because currently I think that it's just an ATM, so we know that it has power, obviously.
Yeah.
But just in terms of water, sewer, like I said, that area is very developed. It will be able to tie in. We just want to know how they're proposing to do it. So we don't have any issues, but we want to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So from the last meeting when preliminary was granted, I did have on here trash enclosure details to be provided. We checked off the bike rack location to be reviewed, lighting hours to be discussed. I have, light colors should be no more than 4,000 kelvins. Respond to town engineers' comments, traffic pattern at east side of building be reviewed. All signage is not part of this preliminary approval, and landscaping to be reviewed as well.
So they are going to toters? That's what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a total enclosure.
Yeah, they just went with small.
I remember we asked them to look into that. Yeah. Which one is the landscaping plan? I'm sorry. I'm okay. Anybody got any concerns, questions? So if I understand correctly, we're just waiting for a utility plan? Is that's it? Okay. And could you remind me, is the public hearing on this still open?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And did we do seeker last time? Do we need to? Is it a type 2?
I have to double check, but I believe that we talked about it at the last one and then we didn't do it, so I believe we do have to do it for final. I don't think that we did
talked
it.
about something at the workshop, but if we can do it at the next meeting,
Yeah.
that's fine. Because you said it didn't have to be done at the formal meeting, so, but if
Yeah.
we don't have,
We can have that prepared.
I think we also have 17 Strathmore is in the same boat, right?
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking.
No, that's exactly what you were thinking.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, I think that was the one.
If it's under 4,000 square feet, it'll be a type 2.
Okay, great. Yep.
And it was done.
It's a type 2,
okay.
right?
This
So I
one
was
was
thinking
done.
of Strathmore.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I couldn't remember
Yeah.
which one was and wasn't.
I have no questions for the applicant, just to let you know.
I already figured you were done. Okay, I think we're good.
So next item is case number PB 2023-10-1, request by Roman Coburn for wetland, steep slope, and floodplain environmental protection overlay district permit approvals to construct a new single-family dwelling on premises 673 Seneca Road in an R2 residential district.
That's fine.
Hi, everyone. So, as you know, my name's Sean Condon, DDS Companies, 45 Hendricks Road, West Henrietta, here representing the applicant, Roman Coburn, for the site plan application involving a single-family home located at 673 Seneca Road. As of last Monday, we have obtained the area variance for the front yard setback to Seneca Road. Last Thursday, we received comments from the Conservation Board, but we have not yet received comments from the town engineer. Our goal would be to get resubmission into your guys' hands as soon as possible. We want to include in that town engineer comments, Conservation Board comments, and then also there was a couple of public hearing comments, which I'll touch on a little bit later. And then I could get that into your hands so then you could be confident in considering your decision at the next meeting. So my goal is to get that into your guys' hands next week, as long as I can get some feedback from engineering-wise. So we have reviewed the Conservation Board comments. There's two comments of note. The first is regarding the rain garden. They requested that we add in the rain garden per the 2013 subdivision. We can absolutely accommodate this. Just wanted to touch to the Conservation Board, would they accept a bioretention area in lieu of a rain garden? It's our preferred practice for runoff reduction, and we also have like a stone base underneath the soil to help infiltration.
Yeah, as long as it meets, the speedies permit that, because I'm sure there was something done previously for the disturbance amount
Yeah, it's,
in a SWIP or something was probably prepared. Yeah, as long as it meets the actual design of it is up to you, but as long as there's stormwater management measures in place.
yeah, so there's an open permit, it's not a speedies permit, but there's an open permit with DEC. We're in continuing conversations with them, whether or not this needs to be updated to fit our plan or not. Last I talked to them was yesterday actually, and they notified me that their biologist is reviewing it, and then we should receive comments shortly. The next item is the steep slopes. So the Conservation Board noted that the applicant should reduce the size or reposition the house to eliminate incursion into the steep slopes. So like you guys, we've done development in steep slopes in a number of areas. Typically we handle them similar to wetlands. Avoid them if you can. If you can't, mitigate everything that you can. So our design is engineered for the mitigation. We have a retaining wall, which combined is is consistent with the retaining wall that was on the previous application, along with the geotechnical analysis that was done for that, should mitigate any stabilization issues, and then on top of, with post-construction. On top of that, we'll propose pin stabilization blankets or jute mesh into the side slopes before construction, and then those will be maintained during construction, and then after construction until grasses growth, they'll just leave them in place, and that should mitigate any erosion control concerns. Additionally, we'll be also including the bioretention area, which will ensure runoff is maintained on site at that corner of the lot. As you all know, throughout the Seneca Road is mostly all developed on steep slopes. So our application is considering roughly 300 square feet of this, which is much less than other applications. So I would just like to kind of ask, get feedback on, not only that response, but if there's any other information, whether it's reports, details, drawings, what have you, that would, help the board and the conservation board feel confident in the layout as it is. We'd be more than willing to provide that information.
What was the decision not to reorientate the building?
So,
Avoid retaining wall?
as you can imagine, this is the house that Roman has, set his heart on. And he's, put a lot of effort into design architecturally and site layout. So he's wanting to build this and not what he would consider as its somewhat inferior product. Reorienting the design would, lose square footage and then what have you. We don't have anywhere else reposition-wise to put it. The location is the best location that we have for the footprint available for parking and safety and all those other factors that we had to take into consideration. If there is backup that we can provide, we'd be more than happy to provide that.
I think especially the retaining wall was an issue for
Yes,
Spencer.
absolutely.
And you still are proceeding with the way.
Yeah, so we pulled it back quite a bit. The average height of the wall is now 2.5 feet. In the middle, it gets up to 5.5, 6 feet, and then comes back down to existing grade. But that's what the wall is right now. Design would be, per the code, design would be, since it's over, I think 4.5 feet's the limit, would be detailed and stamped by a structural engineer prior to any construction.
And LaBelle is still going to get us comments on that.
Yeah, apologies for the delay. It's in Mary's queue. I think that at least the applicant may be interested. I'm also interested if anybody shares Board Member Reed's thoughts on this or not, just because I'm just trying to understand if that is something that should be seriously thought about in terms of moving that retaining wall further east. Because if the current board, the people who sit up there right now, if they're looking at this current orientation and placement of the retention wall and believing that this is appropriate, then it seems like, yeah, it looks like we're kind of going towards approval at the next meeting or coming up. But I think it might be helpful to get some substantive feedback of if the board does believe that this orientation, placement, et cetera, is appropriate, because I'm sure the applicant would like to know if edits should be made or if we're just looking at sort of minor tweaks at this point.
I appreciate that, and if I could speak to that, that's really what we're pushing towards, kind of start to, we did the, like, I don't want to get caught in like the steep slope loop, where I would, if we can mitigate the ball down the field, I would, love to know what avenues you would like us to explore to help put any of those concerns at ease. If not, then I'd also like to know that, here, so that we can really have more hard talks with the applicant.
So I think your testimony was that you did as much as you could to address the concern, correct?
Yes.
So,
And we can provide backup and reporting or whatever you need. If the concern's still there, then we can have that conversations too.
well, we can't speak to someone who's not here,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's where we depend on engineering to,
Yeah, I
give
really
us-
would like some comments from
Yeah.
LaBella on this one.
before we make a comment, because,
Understood.
we all have different comments, but I think if engineering comes back and says they've done what they could and it's okay, you know, or if you say it should be relocated, we just need to know if what they're doing is gonna work, right? So,
Sure, so obviously Mary can take a look and determine if this is going to be structurally sound, if it's going to be safe, et cetera. However, I don't believe Mary is going to make a judgment call whether she thinks that it would be better if it were 3
Well-
feet further east.
I'm asking more for the first part.
Okay,
You know, I
great.
think that's what we, as a board, we need to hear,
Okay.
is this sound. It sounds like the applicant has his desire for his future
Sure.
life to live that way. And then obviously the Conservation Board, you said you did not hear from them.
No,
Oh.
these were the two comments that,
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
the
we had the
rain garden.
rain garden and the steep slopes were the two comments.
And then they said to potentially reduce the size of the house.
Yeah.
Right.
do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, it seems like a lot. I mean, we're
Okay.
being proposed for 23, and I think that's what we've commented on before, is that it's actually turning out to be 3,100, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
we've
I mean,
got a
that's
lot
the-
more there.
On top of it.
I guess I don't know what reducing, so could the conservation, by reducing, what would it?
Again, if you shrink the footprint of the building, you can pull back another 5-10 feet away from that slope and completely eliminate the impact. But again, like the applicant's saying, it's a matter of the architectural pieces of it. There's a lot that goes into that, we understand.
So what would you like to see more regarding the steep slope and what they've put forward? He just said they're willing to provide more reports. So I'm just trying, I want to make sure everything's out there so we can get this wrapped up.
Yeah. So I know one thing that was discussed at the board is in the code regarding the E-pods, I believe it says to preserve, protect, and conserve the environmentally sensitive areas. It doesn't say to just minimize the impact and to still impact it. As an engineer myself, they've done quite a bit to minimize the impact. I think there's still ways to maybe shift the house a little bit, you know, maybe move it a little further towards the bay. I don't know how much that impacts your DEC. You know, there's going to be a chain reaction to any type of move.
And I think that's what Spencer was trying to convey.
Right, because everything's self-imposed because of the size.
Yes.
So I feel this going into this direction that we have been going, which is, it's fine, you know, you guys wouldn't be doing your jobs if you weren't asking hard questions. So, I've had, you know, extensive talks with the applicant about the location of 2 doors that are attached to the garage. He wants them there for access to maintenance equipment. As you know, you have a furnace, you don't want to keep it boxed into a corner if you have to do maintenance. But he is willing to, you know, remove those 2 doors and thus, you know, eliminating the need for the wall altogether, should that help make this process, you know, and confidence to the board much easier. If that's the case, we would provide probably a French drain around the outside of the building where the slope meets the house to get stormwater away, and that would be the only change. So I
And
also,
you would still be able to maintain the size you want then?
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
Is that, how does the Conservation Board, I mean, I'm looking for someone that's an expert
Yeah.
with these kind of areas.
Yeah, I think if that wall were to disappear, that would make the Conservation Board very happy.
we can accommodate that.
We try to keep everybody happy.
Yeah, same here. I'm trying this, I want to make sure that everyone's
Yeah.
comfortable and confident with the design that we put forward, and we also give the applicant, you know, the product that he's looking for. So I appreciate the understanding.
Okay, so you're going to come back with some of those?
So my plan, you know, as soon as I get, you know, town engineer comments, I will whip up the revisions and everything to try to get something to you as soon as possible. I want to make sure that you guys have all the information you need for the next planning board meeting, you know, well in advance, so that you can, you know, feel confident in any determination that's made.
Sure. So I think where you're heading is going to get us there. For Labella, what more do you need from him just to make sure it's structurally sound and all the rest, you know? all the normal stuff, or
Yeah, well,
you have enough?
I'll
or-
just be able to give this to Mary, yeah.
Okay.
But she'll inform me if there's any additional information that's needed, and we can contact the applicant directly.
So you had the solution all along. That's great.
We did, but it wasn't, it's not the one that, the applicant wanted, so I have to do my part on behalf of the applicant to provide.
So I have a note about the tree schedule,
Yes.
tree inventory, and C1 and C4 on the last revision drawings that had the wall moved. We're down to 5 trees being removed,
Yep.
but the inventories don't reflect that yet. It still says 7.
Oh, okay.
And then there was a discussion with conservation that was here last time about that 52 or 4 inch, because it references both ways. Any potential of that staying? I know it gets into the roots, and we were talking about that. But that one's completely being removed.
Yes,
Roots included.
the 52-inch tree is being
Yep.
completely removed.
And the question came up about its health, and in both reports here, it says it's healthy, but something was noted by you at the last one stating that it was unhealthy. So is there something, an inventory that's been updated that we can see before the,
Let me check with my arborist, but we will make sure that that is all squared away. At the end of the day, there's, really not any footprint we do is going to start to make that, even
Yeah.
if it is healthy,
Right.
be very unhealthy very quickly. So it becomes a concern. I will add that if now we're moving that way, with eliminating the wall,
Yeah.
we'll be able to save 2 more trees.
2 of those will say, yeah, the
The
2 in
ones
the
in the
back
steep
there.
slopes will stay.
I think that being said, the 2 in the steep slope are unhealthy already.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
whether they stay or not at this
Yep.
point, but for the rooting of it would be, that's all I had.
On the county comments, the one dated November 2nd, comment 3, are you good with all of those recommendations?
Yes. Is that regarding the floodplain or the
Stream contamination?
Stream contamination, yes. So we have, plenty of erosion control in there. And then we'll also have these now excavation for the bioretention area, which will also be available to, trap sediment before we install the necessary media that makes up the bioretention. So we're good with that, and feel we've addressed that as well.
Okay. And this is connecting to the sewer system, right?
Correct.
All right.
We have submitted to Monroe County Pure Waters, so they're completing their review right now.
Yep.
We've also submitted to Seabreeze Water District about the water service connection, so.
Okay, so prior to the next meeting, you'll get us revised plans that will be removing the doors, and you said putting in a French drain. Was there anything more to that, and eliminating
remove
the
wall.
retention wall?
Yep, nope, nothing more than that. And then of course, any other comments that we get from the town engineer.
It's a wrap, I think.
I have 2 things to add, because we got public comments. I was a little confused because it looked like they referenced the ZBA meeting. They seem planning related, so I can definitely address those. There was 2 comments from the same person regarding, one was site distance, and, they're parking on the roads. There's going to be no parking on the roads, and the way we have the driveway oriented and the garage, we'll be able to have 5 parking spots. So we feel that should be sufficient. There was concerns about people having to park on the roads and people navigating those streets because there is a turn there. And then the other one was about site distance again regarding our landscaping plan. We have a tree in. Wow, he's so well prepared. There's a tree there. Now that we're saving a couple additional trees, we'll probably not propose that tree anymore. I will also save site distance on that curve.
So that addresses his concern about the plantings are lower?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll be all the way lower.
Great. Anything else?
Nope, I think we're good. Unless you guys.
No. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yep.
And this will all be done before the next
Yes.
meeting. So
Yep.
we'll have
I will
plenty
get
of
it to you
time to
as
see
soon as
it.
possible.
Okay. Great.
Thank you guys very much.
Looking forward to getting this wrapped
Yeah,
up.
me
Thank
too.
you.
Okay, next case is case number PB 2023-10-2, request by Sycamore Green for final site plan approval to construct a plus or minus 2,500 square foot community building, updates to building facades and with site-related improvements on premises 17 Strathmore Circle in an R5 residential district. This applicant will not, agent is not here either this evening. But in your packets tonight, there should be an email communication from, the manager from the zoning of City of Rochester, Matthew Simonis. He sent some comments in regards to the site. And I did receive an email from Dan Buchanan late this afternoon stating that they are working with our lighting supplier to come up with a lighting design with no spillover onto the adjacent lots, and that no other changes to the southern border will be proposed, per the city manager of City of Rochester's comments. I can get you hard copies of that if you need it as well.
And what did code enforcement say about parking?
Mary just came back today,
Okay.
but we
If
plan
it's
to
not here,
confirm
we can-
tomorrow, but we're
Yeah.
thinking it's a not plus.
Okay. Unfortunately, you give us too good of notes that we can remember.
And Michelle, I'm sorry, you said that the southern border won't be changed? They're gonna keep the dumpster then? I misunderstood.
Bear with me. Let me get back to that. We're working, no other changes to the southern border are proposed.
So the only change is you're gonna remove the dumpster and put parking spaces. That's okay, right? I just wanna make sure I'm understanding it correct.
What
I
dumpster?
take that to mean that no further alterations are being made to the southern border
Then what's
to
our,
what's being proposed. They're not doing anything different than what is proposed.
that's what I want a clarification on. Okay.
Me too.
And didn't he, so the lighting was to give us a lighting plan because we didn't have one.
Right.
And what else, Michelle, from the notes, was there?
There's lots of stuff.
I thought there was a bunch.
Yeah.
And this is the one we have to do seeker on. It's a type 2, correct? Type 2?
Correct, yes, we did, yes, the public input was kept open and seeker was not determined. Submission of a lighting plan with cut sheets to include sign lighting, obtain determination, that's the code. A submission of mitigation measures that the community building and picnic areas are areas impacting the adjoining neighboring properties. Contact the City of Rochester for their input, submission of a planting schedule on a landscaping plan, and then add a signature block to the plans, was from October.
Okay. And we don't have any of that yet, right? Except for
The City of Rochester.
the City of
comments.
Rochester
City of
comments.
Rochester, and then also in your packets were the comments from the county.
Yep.
Yep.
So we need to see those plans before the next meeting. Just make sure, ask them to give us plenty of time to look at it. It's a great project. We just want to make sure we have everything in time to look at it. If you could, make that request. Any other comments, questions?
I have no questions for the applicant at this time.
I will put that on my notes. And our last case for this evening on the agenda is case number PB 2023-09-01 by Capstone Real Estate Development LLC, acting as agent for 550 Titus Avenue LLC for preliminary final site plan approvals to construct 2 multifamily apartment buildings totaling 16 market rate residential units on premises 550 and 560 Titus Avenue in a mixed-use commercial district. Just so the board is aware, I included in your packets for tonight the notes from the sketch plan.
From the what? I'm sorry, Michelle? Oh, sketch plan hearing, okay.
From this, when they came before us for sketch plan.
Yep.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Good evening. I'm Glenn Thornton with Thornton Engineering, the engineer for the applicant, Capstone Real Estate, Don Lasher, Craig Jensen, and over here is Brandon Clark with CGS Architects. We were in here, what was that, last month? Or was it longer than that? It seems like a while.
September. September was sketch.
We presented a very similar plan at that time. There have been a few changes since we met with the board. The comments from September were fairly minor at that time because it was a new project you were just looking at. One of the comments was about the dumpster enclosure. The plans that were submitted, we've got details for the enclosure. It's now a masonry enclosure on 3 sides, and the masonry units will match the existing garage building in the rear of the parcel back here that will remain. The remainder of both parcels are completely vacant with some trees down the common lot line. But the other comments were actually pretty minor too. Bike rack, we've included, can you hear me if I stand up? That's all right. We have included a bike rack.
We're gonna give you a microphone.
Hey, Glenn.
This area.
We can hear you, but you gotta make sure the folks listening can hear too, so please use the microphone they're gonna give you.
There, how's that?
There.
So we do have a bike rack, as was suggested by the board. We've got a masonry enclosure around the dumpster now. Everything else has remained about the same. It's one building, but it's considered 2 buildings because we'll have a party wall right at the reconfigured lot line down the center. The 2 lots contain approximately 1 acre of land. So now each lot will have a ½ acre of land. Each building will be 8,000 square foot footprint, meeting code requirements, with 8 apartments in each building. We'll have concrete sidewalks to the street, to the parking area. We have proposed some landscaping now, some screening landscaping around the north and partially on the west side. There'll be evergreens, there'll be some, what do we have, junipers there, just to provide some screening. We do have some ornamental trees out here. We have a red bud, and in the front we've got 3 cherry trees out there. We haven't proposed anything up in this area, and I know John had a comment about a fence. There are some limitations on fencing in the town, the length of the fence that you could construct. And the other reason we haven't done anything out here is Monroe County Water Authority now has a 7-foot wide easement. They're requiring us to increase that easement to 15 foot in width. Along Curtis Road, we also have to provide a 15-foot wide easement out in front here along Titus Avenue. Speaking of the Water Authority, I might as well jump right into this. We had always planned to bring a water service to the building off Curtis Road. Well, since it's 2 separate parcels, we have to bring 2 water services in to the building. The one to 550 Titus Avenue is very simple. We just bring a service in off Curtis. The one on service to 560 would cross 560, so we would have to provide an easement to bring the water service across this parcel into the building. We could do that, but the kicker is, if we do that, the Water Authority is requiring us to put a hot box out at the street right in view of everybody. I'm sure nobody would be happy with that. So we kicked around what could we do to avoid placing an above-ground structure right here in front of the new building. And we've worked it out with the Water Authority that if we reconfigure these lots so that this lot would still be up here, but it would also wrap around to have frontage on Curtis Road, they would allow us to bring the water service in and down to avoid any hot box out at the street. So that's probably what we're going to propose doing is alter the lots. This lot would now, well, currently 550 is around 0.43 acres. 560 is 5.7 acres, totaling an acre. We're going to create a lot over here. Instead of being 0.43, will now be 0.40, 4/10 of an acre. This one will be 6/10 of an acre. Still be completely code compliant. Our biggest concern was the amount of impervious. Decreasing the size of this lot only increases the impervious percentage from 45% to 55%, which is well under the 75% allowed by code. So we think we've solved a problem. It helps us. I think it helps the town too. We can avoid that above ground structure right near the building. Other than that, the lighting, we're still proposing wall packs on the building, nothing out in the parking lot. We feel there's enough parking, enough lighting in the area to provide safety in the lots. So we're really just looking at lighting on the building. The buildings will be 3 stories, so they'll have some height to them. Again, landscaping, we do have the screening landscaping in the back against the residential area. We're also proposing some landscaping around the building, just some foundation plantings. We've listed a number of species on the plans that we could use out there.
Any questions for the applicant?
How are the tenants getting their trash out
Carrying bags to the.
to the end of the property?
Yes.
That sound like something you want to do during the winter?
It's not ideal, but I really didn't want to put the totes near the building at the entrances either.
Are these totes or a dumpster?
It'll be a dumpster in the back.
Okay. So what's the matter with moving it to the east side where one of those spaces are? I know it doesn't have to be right on top of the building.
Nothing is the matter with that. It doesn't, it's fine with us.
I think it keeps it away from the neighbors to the north
Sure.
a little bit, and I just,
Don't want to walk in the snow either.
So you're talking about putting it in the middle there, Alan? I'm sorry.
I don't care where the number 9 is on S10 drawing, or S3, sorry.
Probably just south of that, just for driving the building.
Yeah,
Right. But it'd probably be like 3 spots south of 9,
Yeah,
so it'd be
okay.
driving the building.
So they can back in.
just so the guy can go forward and grab it. I just think that it's not gonna happen. I think they're gonna drop stuff, not bother with it. This way it's a lot closer.
Sounds great.
What's keeping folks off the lawn area in the parking? What's between them and that lawn?
We didn't propose anything. I mean, we could put up bumpers, something like that, but we don't have anything shown right now for the straight-in parking.
Is that where you guys are gonna do snow storage also?
No, our snow storage is to the
Is
north.
just to the north where you have it marked?
Yeah.
Okay. I think bumpers would probably, in the long run, save somebody from re-landscaping that
Yeah.
every
Yeah,
A lot of damage to it.
winter.
So for the next meeting, are you looking for preliminary, final? I'm just trying to make sure we got everything we need prior to that next
That
meeting.
would be our goal.
Is there a cut sheet for the lights somewhere?
I was just looking for that.
We have it. Was it attached to this round? No, we can provide that.
Great. And then,
It looks like they got the landscaping detail, right? I saw that.
Yeah, the autumn flowering cherry, I'm just gonna ask Conservation Board, even though you didn't look at this. Is that one of the approved?
But, so when I asked about preliminary and final, it said that, previously it was gonna have the Conservation Board look at this too, I think, is what I read, right? Did this get referred to the Conservation Board? Maybe I misread that.
It's not in an environmental protected overlay district.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's how it gets triggered for the Conservation Board.
I was reading the case underneath it, sorry.
Oh.
Can I ask the
But I-
Conservation Board about the cherry, though?
Well, I
Somebody-
can refer them to the landscape guidelines as well. The Conservation Board just did a new document, the landscape guidelines that was adopted by the town board. Excuse me, I'm choking. I can email that over.
That would be great. Thank you.
Is this a type 2? No. This is a type unlisted? What is this? Unlisted, right?
I'll have to look. I would likely say it's unlisted because I don't think that it exceeds like a type 1 for residential.
Right.
And I don't think that it's low enough to be a type 2, so it's likely unlisted.
So I see they filled out the short form, but we don't have the response to that yet, right? You haven't had.
We have not drafted a part 2 or 3.
Right, so I'm just concerned that if they're gonna be coming for final, it's a lot. Are we gonna be able to do this before the next meeting?
Yeah,
Will we be able to get it in time to review it?
we can do that if you guys feel comfortable moving forward with this at the next meeting. We can put together a draft part 2 and part 3.
And the fire marshal comments, did we ask to get those?
I believe that he did. Or at least number 9 says fire marshal comment regarding access, so I guess that needs to be referred. Okay, it does need to be referred.
And then the only other thing that I'm going to ask to see, and I don't think we've seen it, is what is the material for the facade of the buildings? Is it CFIS, is it metal, what is this?
So it's a fiber cement product, like a fiber cement panel?
Can you give us some colors or something?
Yeah, we haven't
Or
made a
fiber.
color selection. I mean, you can either get these like in an integral color, or you can get them with a, factory.
Well, what are you guys
factory
going to
finish.
do? That's
Well,
what I'm
I guess we
interested in.
hadn't,
Because that's one part we do have.
You have
some
discretion
say
over
over.
color? Okay, I didn't know, okay.
If you're going to paint it orange and purple, I bet the neighbors are going to love you.
We're
But
definitely not.
Yeah, I know, it'll be neutral colors, but I guess I'd
If
rather
we could
talk
just
with
get some
Don.
idea where
Yeah,
you
we can
guys
bring
are
that
heading with
can we
it.
bring that to the next meeting? With the,
Can you bring samples
Yeah,
also? Do you have
we
them?
can bring a sample to the next meeting.
That'd be great.
Okay.
I'm just concerned there's a lot to do before the next meeting, so hopefully everybody can get together and make it happen.
Can you explain how the buildings, we have a 3-story with 8 units,
8
that-
per lot, 16 total.
so 16 total.
Correct.
But that's still 3 into 16 doesn't work, 3 into 8
Yeah, right, that's
doesn't
right.
work.
So the first floor of each, I think the first floor of each lot has 2 units.
Okay.
So 4 on the first floor total.
Yeah.
And then as you go up, there's 3 on each floor. So it's a 2 plus 3 plus
I didn't look
3
at that.
for a total of 8 on each lot.
And then with the parking then, so we're 16 units, the number of spots is almost equivalent. And we're only showing 2 handicap accessible total, 1 for each building?
We've 2 total.
2 total for each building or just 2
No,
total?
1 per building.
1 per building.
Correct.
1 per building, and then the number of spots,
30.
27.
yeah, 10, 18, 27 for 16, so 1.5 would be 24, so we should be covered there.
So what do you think, there should be more
I,
handicap? 'cause
well, if
somebody visiting,
anything,
right?
maybe the 2, instead of just 1 spot, maybe 2 spots per building, that's something, yeah, I think that would be,
Because you're gonna have people visiting there. probably gonna
absolutely,
be
with that many people there, I think they're gonna be utilizing those 2 spots all the time, and I think more than, it doesn't change the number of spots, it doesn't change anything like that, it's just a little more striping and making sure that they're, I think the minimum distance is 8 foot for those now as well, the width on those. So maybe they're all 8 foot. typical 8 foot, typical 8 foot, typical 9, so you've got good spacing as well for, yeah, either side. That's all I.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a little more detail on these buildings, because some things aren't making sense to me as I look at this. There's some awnings on the Curtis Titus drawing, but if I look at the southern exposure, there are no awnings on it. So maybe if we have a better idea of what we're doing here on the facade of the building, that would be really helpful to me. I'm not crazy about these windows. They look very plain Jane. They look actually commercial compared to a residential look to me. If we can take a better look at those to make them look a little less commercial. I mean, the whole thing, if I look at the south elevation, which is the part that's gonna face Titus, that looks like a commercial building to me. It does not strike me as a residential building. I don't know if that's what you intended. And also, is there gonna be signage anywhere demarcating what this is?
So as far as the windows
I'm
are
not
con-
trying to tell you to have signage. I would discourage you from having it. But if you're going to have it,
It
we're
would
going to
be
want to
building
know about it
numbers,
because we're
we'll
going to
say.
want to incorporate it in the site plan.
We're not planning on naming the project, if that's what you're thinking. It would just, somewhere, obviously, at this, each entrance, we would have the building number. So 550, 560 type of thing. But
Yeah,
that's-
no,
that's the
that,
extent of it.
yeah, I want the fire department to know what address they're going to.
Board Member Richards, so just to try to get a better understanding of sort of the architectural, your architectural thoughts, it sort of seems like this building might fit on like the south side of Titus, but doesn't necessarily fit on the north side of Titus.
Right.
Right, so on the north side, you have some of these like converted residential structures that are now businesses versus on the south side, obviously, there's like the plaza, the Dunkin' Donuts, all of those things.
There's that.
So yeah, I mean, it's obviously up to you all. If it's something that you'd be interested having the masking and scaling be a little bit more towards the pedestrian in terms of maybe having a canopy along the first floor. Because I understand what you're saying of this is kind of a little slick looking and it
Yeah.
doesn't really match what's existing, especially all those single family homes that are all behind it. So I think that if that's something that you're interested in, I would definitely make the applicant aware so they know to move forward with that. Or if you're just looking for some color updates, some changes to the windows, some minor stuff, just so they know where to go with this.
I'm not asking you to change the whole building by any means. I don't want you to put a
Thank you.
gabled roof on here or anything,
Thank you.
but I do think that it does smack me as being commercial. As Kate said, it looked good on the other side of the street. You'd blend right in. On this side of the street, you know that there are houses that have been converted into commercial use at this point without being changed into commercial buildings. So you're sort of blending in with that, but you can see that those windows are very
Yeah, they're big. We're trying to
big
make,
and
you know, the units will be more inviting and I think more desirable if the windows are pretty big. So these windows are large by residential standards. Yeah, but we can look at that. Yeah, we can look at that.
no, I get that what you're saying to me, and I'm not discouraging you from doing more
we can
natural
look at
light. I think that there's ways to bust this up so it doesn't, so I'm not seeing commercial
no, we can look at that. Yeah.
windows.
I think the black and white gives it a much more urban, commercial look, so maybe these colors would
Yeah, maybe
soften
the
that
colors
look.
might different colors would soften it too. Yeah.
So
And I
if we-
think
if we
we're definitely
understood
trying to
what the
relate to
colors
Titus because that's the street we're on, but I recognize
We
that
do have awnings on the south side. and
Yeah,
canopies of
we'll
the street.
correct-
You just can't, they're very difficult to see. on
they're
these
difficult to see in
renderings.
these drawings. We can correct the drawing to
So we
make
can
the
have
canopies
that.
more-
I'm also going to be real interested because I don't like light packs over those awnings. They reflect light back
Yeah,
up.
yeah, understood.
And
We'll look at that.
I've learned the lesson the hard way by approving stuff that I drive by at night and say, damn, why didn't I ask that question?
Okay, all right. That's a good point.
So if we could have those light pack placements on the building also, that would be helpful.
Yeah,
That's
we
my thought. It strikes me, and I know we went through the sketch plan and that was, and I think we're getting a little more serious here, and I think that the project's great.
This is part of the process.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I kind of like the look, but I think if you showed the colors, it
Yeah,
may address some of these concerns. It may not, but I think it
you're
would
right.
help.
But we'll look at that. We'll bring some samples, look at the colors, correct these other things.
Other comments, questions? I think that's it. You had, Conservation Board, were you invited to this? No, anyway.
I was looking through the landscape guideline, and there's like 4 different cherry trees that are in the recommended species. So the one that they have just doesn't happen to be in there. It might be okay, but there's 4 others to choose from that are right in the guideline, and they all kind of look about the same. So making that little swap would probably.
Yeah, but you guys took your time to make recommendations. The town board took their time to approve the recommendations, so we can just stick with it. I think we're gonna be a lot better off.
You know,
If you take,
the
yeah,
Google pictures look just like the one that you have. Thank
Yeah.
you.
landscape plans on the site, if you don't have a copy of it. So. Seeing that, if there's no other questions, do you have any questions for us?
We've got homework. Good.
2 weeks, and then you got a holiday in between. That's why I keep mentioning that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Does the town staff have any issues for us? Labella Construction Conservation Board, seeing none, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All approve? Aye. Meeting's over.